Can you get through this entire Disney World video without judging me? I got a few confessions to make. Not everybody loves what I do in Disney World. In fact, there are some people who hate some of my decisions in the parks. But I'm going to lay it all out on the table for you so that you can be the final judge and maybe feel a little bit justified in some of the weird ways you approach your park planning. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. I admit, I do a lot of weird things in Disney World that make people scratch their head and go, you sure about that? But today's video isn't just going to be all about my weird choices. I also reached out to other members of the DFB team and some of you to figure out what unpopular things we all do in the Disney World parks too that maybe we're in the minority about. I cannot wait to see the comments section for this video. Make me proud. Let the court commence. Yep, right out of the gate, I'm gonna prove why the title of this video tracks. I, AJ Wolf, have taken many trips to Disney World where I skip Magic Kingdom entirely. And that's for a few key reasons before you get mad at me. The first and probably biggest reason is because it's so stinking hard to get there. When you're not staying at a Magic Kingdom area resort that has monorail or boat access or like a little path to walk right up to the park gates, just getting to and from Magic Kingdom involves a whole other layer of park strategizing. You drive, you take a rideshare, you take a bus from a non-Disney owned hotel, and you'll be dropped off at the Transportation and Ticket Center, which means you have to get in another transportation line for either the monorail or the ferry that'll carry you the rest of the way over. And then you gotta wash, rinse, and repeat by the end of the night, but in reverse. This is why if I'm traveling to Magic Kingdom, sometimes I'll actually arrive a little later after rope drop just to avoid the big morning crowds. And then by the end of the night, I make up for my lost morning time by hanging around Main Street for an extra 30 to 60 minutes after the park closes and while the Main Street shops and snack locations are still open so that I can people watch the mass exodus. But I don't have to be part of it. Now, I admit many of my trips to Disney World revolve around work, not necessarily vacation. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to plan my days around this park when I need to take meetings or get some work done in other parks or at Disney Springs or at restaurants in other places. There's just not a whole lot of quiet spots around Magic Kingdom, which is fine. I mean, you've got excitement literally around every corner, but that's just personally another reason why I'm not here as often anymore, is because if I'm taking meetings, it's hard to find quiet spots. So going to Magic Kingdom for me is more of a special treat that I get to just go and completely enjoy myself and not worry about work. But my scriptwriter Bria did want me to point out that one of the best quieter places that she tends to gravitate toward when she needs to work on a script in Magic Kingdom is over at Tomorrowland Terrace, because remember that used to be open as a regular operating quick service, but nowadays the area is just used in the evenings for the happily ever after fireworks dessert parties, meaning it's free game and free shaded seating in the morning and afternoon. Now maybe I'm just stalling a tiny bit before I bring up my next confession because I already feel y'all judging me big time with that first one, but I feel like now's a good time to bring up the fact that the DFB team and I have recently updated our free DFB planning worksheets to help organize and budget and strategize your upcoming vacation. If you want one of these updated planning worksheets to use as you plan your next Disney World getaway, go ahead and scan the QR code you see on the screen now or click on the link in the description for disneyfoodblog.com/DisneyPlans after this, and we'll send those your way right away. All right, I guess it's time to quit stalling. And since I've already stirred the pot, let's crank up the heat a bit. I love Disney World entertainment, please don't get me wrong, but I've never been a huge parade or fireworks person. This is particularly true for, again, poor Magic Kingdom. Admittedly, it's got some stunning fireworks and parades, but the crowds, yeah, sometimes they are just too much for me. So here's what I'll sometimes do during the nighttime entertainment instead. I'll head to ride more rides during those times so I can jump into shorter queue lines while the majority of the park is camped out to watch the shows, or I'll just leave. I promise you, I'm not a fuddy-duddy, but if I can get out of the park without fighting those peak end-of-the-night transportation crowds, that's pretty glorious. Now, I asked the DFB team about this, and they had a slightly different approach to end-of-the-night fireworks entertainment. They'll still watch the shows, but they'll make a few sacrifices in order to avoid the crowds. Our executive editor, Sierra, mentioned that she'll watch Magic Kingdom's Happily Ever After fireworks, but she'll grab a table outside Gaston's Tavern in Fantasyland to watch them instead. This means she misses the castle projections, but still has a decent view of the fireworks shooting off above the castle. And she's not surrounded by bajillions of people. And Bria mentioned that one of her favorite places to watch Epcot's Luminous is on the second or third tier of the Canada Pavilion. This slightly obstructs the fireworks and definitely obstructs the pyrotechnics happening closer to the water, but rarely anyone's up there with her, so she gets to see most of the show with lots of elbow room and might even get to grab one of the benches up there while she's at it, where she can sit down and enjoy an end-of-the-night World Showcase snack. Okay, would you believe me if I told you I've also taken several Disney World trips before where I didn't ride a single ride while I was there? Not a one. This happened a lot more frequently when my son was little, and his biggest concern was making sure we rode the buses and the monorail and the Skyliner over and over and over again. I had a very transportation-obsessed child. Now, after 2 Disney World trips during my son's transportation infatuation phase, I became very familiar with all the different transpo routes and was also out a lot of park ticket money because my son simply was more interested in the free stuff than the paid stuff. Basically the equivalent of getting your kid the latest high-end toy for Christmas and all they want to do is play with the cardboard box it came in. Ah well, at least he's having a good time. So there were several back-to-back trips there for a while where I didn't buy park tickets for him at all, and he was happy as a clam about it. I had a few folks from the DFB crew who backed me up on this and told me they'd experienced similar park days where rides simply didn't dominate their whole itinerary. One of our DFB Guide editors, Kelly, mentioned that during her last Disney World visit, she went to Magic Kingdom with her son, who's a toddler, and her mom, and they rode It's a Small World, grabbed a few snacks, met Mickey Mouse, played in the Casey Jr. Splash and Soak station, and simply didn't ride another ride that day, which made it a lot less stressful on them, not having to stand in forever long lines for the Magic Kingdom ride queues. And on a similar Kelly note, I've been known to go to Magic Kingdom and, well, as the president of the Unofficial People Mover fan club, you know what's coming next, I've been known to prioritize the People Mover above everything else. Above Tiana's Bayou Adventure, above Tron, all of it, because I love this relaxing walk-up ride like no other, and apparently a lot of you feel similarly. Do you know how many people told me on social that your unpopular Disney World park strategy is hitting a People Mover first thing? So many! This is why we're friends! Y'all are absolutely my people, so welcome to the club. You passed the test. Grab a t-shirt from the DFB store website because you have earned that fan club title. Now, hold on. Before you get to typing on your keyboard that angry message, I'm going to beat you to the punch. Kelly and I are both annual pass holders. Most of the DFB crew are annual pass holders, so paying a lot of money for general admission and just ignoring all the rides absolutely isn't going to make sense if this is a once-in-a-lifetime or very rare vacation opportunity for you. This isn't me telling you all those state-of-the-art Disney World rides aren't worth the hassle, because absolutely they are. They're amazing, and one of the key reasons why you're probably planning a vacation to these parks in the first place. That being said, the point of even bringing all this up is to show you that even if you're not the world's biggest fan of the rides, or if someone in your family would rather just do other stuff in the parks, that doesn't mean you're not going to have a good time in Disney World. You can still have a very fun Disney getaway, minus the back-to-back ride lines and wait times if you want to. Disney World is a place full of shops and shows and self-guided tours and immersive dining and resort activities and hotel pools and park scavenger hunts, you name it. What you'll come to find out is that the best Disney days aren't necessarily the ones where you can cross every ride off the list. Sometimes the best Disney days are the unexpected ones, like watching your kid giggle uncontrollably when you add another Skyliner gondola number to the long list on your iPhone Notes app of all the Skyliner gondolas you've been in. Or riding the People Mover 3 times in a row, because it's just awesome. Okay, I feel like this is as good a time as ever to bring up how, as a mom, I've definitely taken trips without my kid to Disney World. And that's not just for business trips, that was for fun trips too. There's a reason I wrote Disney Adults, okay? I call myself out all the way through the book while exploring this ever-expanding subculture. Very eye-opening and therapeutic for a number of reasons. Also, thank you all for your support on this Disney Adults journey. It is absolutely so much fun to have you along. And sorry, that was just a side to help break up the why everyone hates what I do at Disney World tension, so let's carry on now. Can you blame me for not taking my kid to Disney World sometimes? He only wanted to ride the bus, you guys. So there were some trips that I took with him where I never got to step foot inside World Showcase or try a new restaurant or browse Disney Springs or even ride the People Mover, so I had to leave him at home once in a while. Now, I think we get really caught up in the idea that if you have kids, then you're honor bound. It is the law to bring them to Disney World. Otherwise, you're a bad parent. But that's not really true. And I can say that with confidence now because I've had to work through all those big mom guilt feelings myself. Disney World is continuously expanding their parks to reach audiences of all ages, and that means you can fill a full day with Disney World activities that are solely based around things your kids probably wouldn't have been all that interested in anyways. That includes lounges, World Showcase side exhibits to learn about the different cultures, Disney Springs shopping trips, spa days at the Grand Floridian, or even an afternoon lying in a beachside hammock with a tropical drink melting in your hand. Going to Disney World with kids versus going without them? Two very different experiences. They're both fun, but one involves a whole lot more focus on the younger members of your group, and the other involves getting to focus on you and what you want to do. If you have the time, the money, and opportunity to take an adults-only trip or even a solo Disney trip, I love those. Don't feel bad about leaving the kids behind. There'll be other opportunities in the future to make more family trips, but if the gals from work invite you to go with them on their Epcot day, or your spouse wants to do a little anniversary Disney weekend, it's okay. You're allowed to say yes. Now, on the opposite side of that spectrum, let's talk about bringing your baby to Disney World, which can be another highly controversial thing. One of our DFB website writers, Lauren, mentioned that she was so glad she didn't listen to the masses that told her to wait until her baby was older before taking her to Disney World. There's always the argument about not taking your kid before they can remember the parks, simply because, well, they won't remember the trip that you invested all your time and money into. And there's also a solid case for how difficult it can be to take your baby around Disney World. It is hot, it's exhausting, their schedule's all out of whack, and it's making everyone in your group miserable. Believe me, I have been there, my friends. But here's the rebuttal. 1, kids under 3 years old get free admission to Disney World. After 3, you're going to have to pay for them from here on out, so it might be worth taking that free baby admission opportunity with the whole family while you have it. And 2, baby care centers are a thing, and they make your park days so much better. Disney knows that as family-friendly as they strive to be, navigating the parks with a little one can still be really hard, which is why they have designated baby care centers inside every single park. These allow you and your kid to escape the hustle and bustle for a little bit to take a much-needed break without having to backtrack all the way to your hotel to do so, or having to nurse in a bathroom stall, which is like the worst ever. These centers will hook you up. We're talking private nursing rooms with rocking chairs, changing rooms, high chairs, a kitchen with a microwave and sink and TV. Not to mention these centers also have an on-site shop with all the formula and baby food and diapers and wipes and meds and clothing and sunscreen you could possibly need when you accidentally forget to pack the essentials yourself. And 3, sure, your kid may not remember the trip, but you will. You'll remember how excited they were to dress up as their favorite character, to hug Mickey Mouse for the first time, and watch their eyes light up during their first ever ride on Dumbo. At the end of the day, every baby is different and you know your baby best. So if this is something you want to do with your little one before they age out of free admission, do a little extra research and plan for lots of breaks to help pace out your day. Also, brace yourself for not being able to hit up even half as much of the parks as you'd be able to do if you were going sans baby. Naps, cool down times, more naps, extra snack breaks, and oh yeah, naps are essential to keeping your kid happy while taking them to Disney. Now, our YouTube editor brought up standard hotel rooms the other day, and I thought, you know what? This needs to be in the video. If you want the cheapest, absolute cheapest Disney-owned hotel room that'll still hook you up with all the basic theme park perks like free park transportation, early theme park entry, and early reservation booking windows for restaurants and lightning lanes, your best bet is to book a standard room at one of the value resorts, since those are going to cost you about $130 to $230 per night, depending on when you visit. Okay, Technically, you can sometimes get a Disney stay with basic theme park perks for under $130 if you're cool with staying in a tent or pop-up on the Fort Wilderness campgrounds. But I understand not everyone's gonna be tickled pink by that concept. The problem with that though, standard rooms are real small. They can sleep up to 4 guests, but you have one bathroom to share and only 260-ish square feet of space for you to spread out in. For families with younger kids, that might be fine and dandy, but that can be a pretty tight squeeze if you're traveling with a group of 4 adults. That being said, our editor mentioned that during her last Disney World trip, she traveled with another couple and they split the cost of the standard room at Pop Century. That meant that the cost of the room was technically under $100 per night. And since they were barely back in the room anyways, considering the majority of their trip was being spent inside the parks, they really didn't have to deal with the lack of space all that much. They just used it as a place to crash each night and figured out shower schedules ahead of time, and they made it work. The moral here, standard value rooms might not give you a whole lot of extra wiggle room, but you may not need it in the first place. If you're cool with sacrificing luxury space in order to stay on Disney property for the lowest price point possible, you can make it happen. Now, y'all might be shocked to hear me say this, but fancy dining at Disney World isn't a priority for me. Okay, maybe all you longtime DFB viewers out there aren't actually shocked by this revelation at all. This is coming from the gal whose diet consists mainly of chicken tenders and plastic cheese after all. But before I get comments about, I thought this was a Disney food blog, let me set the record straight. I enjoy fancy dining. Some of my favorite Disney World experiences and memories have taken place at some of Disney's highest end restaurants. But even if someone invited me to go to Victoria and Albert's at Grand Floridian for an evening out that's not work related, I might choose not to go. Getting dressed up and paying a ton of money and putting on a bunch of makeup for molecular gastronomy is okay once in a while, but if I'm at Disney World, time is money, y'all, and I might spend that time and money by grabbing a quick meal, hello chicken tenders, and making more time for the other parts of Disney that are free or are already covered with the price of admission. But if you've got a free evening where investing in a nice Disney meal makes sense for your schedule and you've already budgeted back for it ahead of time, pack those spiffy sundresses and khakis and enjoy the splurge on some of the best Disney dining on property. And if you're planning a meal at Victoria and Albert's, consider booking the chef's table. It is so fun getting to chat with the chefs. They are amazing. It's one thing to be all fancy and sit in the regular dining rooms at Victoria and Albert's and eat all the fancy food, but it's another thing entirely to sit in the kitchen and be able to talk to the chefs about what they're doing and why they chose this ingredient or what is that called and what does that mean, and that's just fun. I love it. When I asked on social media for y'all to tell me why everyone hates what you do in Disney World, a bunch of you responded by professing your love for Beverly. Yep, not Aunt Beverly, the Beverly soda, which is the highly infamous free soda you can find served at Epcot's Club Cool, along with several other international sodas that aren't nearly as controversial. So why is the Beverly usually so hated? Because it's bitter, very bitter. In fact, many Disney fans might prank their first visit friends by telling them to try the Beverly with no warning attached. Imagine how much worse the Beverly might be after back-to-back sugar sodas and then suddenly, bam, no sugar, all bitter and bubbles. But like many of you noted, the Beverly's actually a go-to soda for several of y'all out there. And hey, if you're in that category too, just for the record, you can purchase full-size Beverly sodas in Disney Springs over at the Coca-Cola Rooftop Beverage Bar. But why am I even bringing this up in the first place? Well, it's to prove a point, right? Even if someone tells you to steer far away from a certain Disney World snack or restaurant or drink, even if it's so universally hated that it's a meme at this point, that doesn't necessarily mean you should take people at their word. Not every recommendation is going to be the best fit for you, so you really have to read between the lines sometimes and figure out if the reason why someone else loves something or hates something is going to be the reason why you should choose to love or hate it. That's why our DFB Guide to Walt Disney World Dining is written from the perspective of the entire team, plus me. We add all our takes, both good and bad, in each review that we do, just to make sure we're not solely feeding you information from our personal bias. Sure, my favorite restaurant in Disney World at the moment is Le Cellier in Epcot, but you might not agree with me if you're strictly on a plant-based diet, or if you'd rather not have a really heavy steakhouse meal in the middle of your Epcot day. Half the members of the DFB team might note that they try to avoid dining at Rainforest Cafe and Animal Kingdom in Disney Springs. Since it's a chain restaurant, you can find it pretty much any of those key touristy malls, while the other half of the team might prioritize it because they know it's the #1 way to get their kids to actually sit down for a table service meal. So yeah, Beverly might be hated by many, but the few who love it really, really love it, to the point of a loyalty, it seems. So if you've already got our DFB Guide to Walt Disney World Dining handy from dfbstore.com, read the reviews and apply the pros and cons to your specific group to see if the pros outweigh those cons. So I want to give a shout out to our good friend Sean Lopez, for his response on Instagram when we asked for advice on unpopular Disney World priorities. Sean's one of our favorite fans around here and over at All Ears. He's just a superstar. Anyway, Sean mentioned that for every trip he has to take castle pics at every PhotoPass spot imaginable. Now, I got no room to judge on this one. If you scroll through my camera roll right now, a good chunk of that is nothing but different angles of Cinderella Castle, so I get it. But I also want to talk specifically about how Sean mentions PhotoPass, which is professional pictures that cast members will take of you around iconic spots around the parks. Now, PhotoPass is free to have them take your picture, but if you want to keep them forever and ever, you're going to have to pay for them. And that brings us to another controversial topic, Memory Maker. Disney's Memory Maker packages allow you to own and download all of those professionally taken Disney PhotoPass pictures and attraction photos for one flat fee. But that fee is pretty expensive. If you purchase Memory Maker in advance, you're looking at spending an extra $185. And if you want to purchase it after your trip or even in the middle of your vacation, you're looking at spending an extra $210. Now, you do have the option to only pay for Memory Maker for one day only, but that's still going to put you back $75. So here's the thing. If you're like my buddy Sean and you love taking PhotoPass pictures, a Memory Maker investment can absolutely be worthwhile. I mean, think about it. You'll be able to collect so many photos of your friends and family all trip long to look back on years and years down the line, and you can also update your mantle photo frames with them or make those digital downloads into a 12-month calendar and give them as a Christmas gift. I know, you're welcome. However, the controversial part of this service comes from how invested the rest of your group is going to be when it comes to taking all those PhotoPass pictures and getting your money's worth out of this service. Is your group going to be excited for that fun magic shot, or are they going to roll their eyes at you for making them stop for another photo again? You always have the option to pay for individual PhotoPass pictures if you end up finding one or two pop up on your My Disney Experience app that you want to keep after your trip, instead of paying one bulk price for all of them. Individual downloads for standard size pictures are about $20 each, versus dropping $210 for all of them, even the ones you don't want because you blinked or the baby's crying or little Susie's facing the wrong way. And let's not forget, each day that you purchase MultiPass, you'll receive complimentary downloads of all your in-ride PhotoPass pictures for the day. Not the ones where you're standing all pretty in front of Tower of Terror, but the ones where you're screaming and panicking inside the elevator itself. And for even cheaper picture options, you're totally allowed to go up to PhotoPass cast members and ask if they can take a picture of your group with your phone for free. And they'll be more than happy to. Just be mindful of each cast member's time. They're not going to be able to do a whole mini photo shoot with your phone or anything like that, but they can definitely grab some super cute shots in front of the Tree of Life or Cinderella's Wishing Well or a number of other iconic theme park spots for $0.00. Now here's the big one. Are we even allowed, as Disney fans, to say we're excited for new park lands and new rides when they're going to end up replacing some of the classics that we've also come to know and love, like old friends? Is that blasphemy on our end? Maybe, but let's talk about it anyways. I'll admit that there are some rides and attractions we've lost for the sake of progress that I've never truly recovered from, like, Horizons and Epcot, or World of Motion, Great Movie Ride, even the Writer's Stop, which was also once in Hollywood Studios. But I also recognize that Walt Disney wanted his parks to be ever-changing and ever-growing, not a museum where things never change. And with that, I recognize that if some of these things never closed, we'd never have things like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, or Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, or Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Nope, not every change and closure is going to be popular with everyone, and a lot of people are going to scream and cry about every single one. And it's okay for you to be sad to see old attractions close. That's normal, but it's also kind of wild for folks to get upset when others express how excited they are about up-and-coming Disney World changes. One of our website writers mentioned that she's excited for Pueblo Esperanza to take over Dinoland USA because she remembers the dinosaur ride being slightly traumatizing when she was growing up, and she's excited to make different memories within this new tropical Americas themed area instead. Now, we got several other writers that piped into this conversation, mentioning that along the same lines, the Cars themed Piston Peak land coming to Magic Kingdom is going to be a blast because by the time it's finished, which will probably be a few years down the road, their kiddos should be old enough to really appreciate the area, and that means new memories and new nostalgia in the making. And while I don't try to mention this too terribly often because I don't want people to deem me as a Muppets hater, which I am not, I am pretty hyped for Monstropolis. Monsters, Inc. was my son's favorite movie growing up, so I just lit up to think about actually getting a full Monsters, Inc. area to explore, since we used to talk about how fun it'd be to actually step inside that world back in the day. So the moral, if you're excited about future Disney World changes, don't let someone else make you feel bad about it. And if you're not excited about those changes, then don't make other people feel bad about it. Disney's still a place where both new and classic stories come together as a big old melting pot of nostalgia for all different ages. My classic Epcot isn't your classic Epcot. We all have different nostalgia for different time frames when we fell in love with Disney, and that's okay. Even if what comes isn't perfect, there's bound to be something that everyone can enjoy, whether it's a fresh take on an old ride or a new take on something we've loved for years. Alright, y'all, I hope we can still be friends now that I've bared my soul and all my unpopular Disney World quirks with everybody. And if we are still friends, yay. Go ahead and check out another one of our DFB videos next so we can keep hanging out together, like the truth about Disney adults, another soul-bearing one, or Disney jail and other myths that are real. Less soul-bearing, but really wacky that these things actually happened. And don't forget to pick up those free Disney World planning worksheets today over at disneyfoodblog.com/disneyplans. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.